The wedding reached the ring exchange, and my wife suddenly said she needed to pause for 5 minutes. Then she turned, walked down the aisle, and, tears in her eyes, faced the man she'd always idealized, extending her ring finger. "David, you once promised you'd propose to me in front of everyone. So, if there's a next life, will you marry me?" David nodded, pulled her into a heartbroken embrace, and turned to me. "Ethan, I didn't get the chance to marry Olivia in this life, but I hope you'll take good care of her for me." Around me, guests were whispering and pointing. Across from me was the bride, locked in a passionate kiss with someone else. Everyone was waiting to see the groom made a fool of. But I just smiled, walked towards David, and pinned my boutonniere onto his chest. "What do you mean, no chance? Since you two can't let go of each other, I'll just make it happen for you right now." For 8 years, I had humbled myself, going out of my way to please Olivia's family, desperate for their approval. But in the end, this long-delayed wedding only happened because paparazzi caught her and David entering a hotel together, and the Miller family needed to clear up the scandal. I had my reservations, but Olivia swore to me that she was just drunk that day and hadn't done anything wrong. I reluctantly accepted it. I thought maybe once we were married and had kids, Olivia would finally settle down. But now, I watched the woman who was supposed to pledge her life to me locked in a passionate kiss with someone else. Even as I clenched my fists and gritted my teeth, my heart ached to the point of suffocation. Suddenly, I didn't want to endure it anymore. My words made David gasp and clutch his chest. Olivia anxiously rushed to support him. Realizing he might be having a heart attack, she immediately wanted to rush him to the hospital. Even as she left, she didn't forget to call me vicious and petty, saying I was making a scene out of something that could have been resolved in 5 minutes, causing everyone such embarrassment. Neither set of parents could stop Olivia. So, I bore the brunt of everyone else's anger. The officiant stood awkwardly, holding the wedding vows, looking at me. My mother, mortified, cried and hit me, demanding I go bring Olivia back. My father scoffed, told me to fend for myself, and dragged my mother away forcefully. My mother-in-law, who had always looked down on me, now coldly accused me of being an unsophisticated bumpkin. She lectured me, telling me that if I wanted to marry into a family like theirs, I needed to swallow my pride and not embarrass my wife in public. For 8 years, it was the first time I felt that sincerity didn't guarantee sincerity in return. I didn't want to be the Miller family's son-in-law anymore. They left with the remaining guests, telling me to walk back and reflect on my actions. I watched them leave. Behind me was the silent, empty hotel. Before me was a sudden, torrential downpour. After Mr. and Mrs. Miller and the others were gone, my parents pulled up in their car. My mother rolled down the window. Seeing them, all the humiliation inside me erupted. I choked out, "Mom." Just as I reached for the car door, I heard the lock click. I stared at them, stunned. My mother, looking disappointed, lectured me. "I told you not to marry her back then. Now listen to your in-laws, reflect properly, and figure out how to get Olivia back. After all, you saved her life. David can't compete with that, no matter what." "Mom, how can you say that?" My mother ignored me. She rolled up the window, and the car sped away. I watched the taillights disappear, my heart growing colder with each passing moment. The wedding was held at a resort hotel built halfway up a mountain. There was no cell signal to call a taxi. A kind server handed me an umbrella, their eyes full of sympathy. I thanked them, opened the umbrella, and started the difficult walk down the mountain, my left leg aching. Worse in the rain. Soaked and chilled to the bone, my phone finally got a signal. Immediately, dozens of messages flooded in. They were all from Olivia, demanding to know why I kept targeting David when she'd already explained he was just like a brother to her. I ignored her. A moment later, a video came in from an unknown number. In the video, Olivia held David's hand while he was being examined, her red lips repeatedly kissing his fingertips as she tearfully begged him to be okay. I remembered when I was injured saving Olivia. My left leg hadn't fully recovered, and I fell in the bathroom, hitting my head on the sink. Dazed, I instinctively called her for comfort. She just coldly snapped that she wasn't a doctor and what good would calling her do. I stayed in the hospital for 2 weeks that time, and she never once visited. Later, I found out that on the day I fell, David had cut his hand cooking, and the doctor told him it might scar, making him upset. Olivia had taken all her anger and concern out on me. I stopped walking and let out a self-mocking laugh. I had woken up too late and let myself get into this humiliating situation. As I was trying to call a taxi, Olivia's call came through. After a barrage of angry yelling, she breathed heavily, declaring that I had caused David's heart attack and demanding I rush over to apologize. I struggled to hold the flimsy umbrella steady and spoke calmly, "I'm still at the hotel." As I finished speaking, a crack of thunder split the dark sky. Olivia's voice was tense. "It's pouring rain outside. They didn't take you back? Then I'll..." She paused, and David's voice, full of self-reproach, came through. "Ethan, is he angry? It's all my fault. Maybe I should have died abroad." Olivia immediately soothed him gently, then turned her anger back on me. "This is your own doing. What are you being dramatic about? It was only 5 minutes. If you had just been more understanding, I wouldn't have left you." The last thread in. My heart snapped. I curled my lips and cut her off. "Let's get a divorce. I won't apologize to David. The ones who are wrong are you two, not me." If they couldn't let go of each other, why had Olivia bothered me in the first place? She was the one who had confessed to me first. She was the one who said she wanted to be with me forever, which is why I had chosen her so resolutely. 8 years. Were their feelings and youth precious, but mine worthless? After hanging up, I quickly hailed a taxi. Sitting in the car, another text came from Olivia. "Ethan, you need to own up when you've done something wrong. Do you really think anyone else would want a useless man like you? Not to mention you elaborately staged saving me just to make me feel indebted." I stared blankly at the message. I thought after everything today, nothing else could hurt me more. Turns out I was wrong. I rolled down the window and let the cold wind blow on my face. My left leg was aching so much it felt numb. I laughed at myself bitterly and told the driver to take me to the hospital. I walked into the hospital lobby in my muddy groom suit. A nurse immediately asked if I needed help. Dragging my injured leg, I calmly told her my leg condition had flared up. Hearing this, she quickly led me to the 3rd floor. The doctor frowned. "Your leg had such a severe injury. It's a miracle you recovered enough to get out of a wheelchair. How could you be so careless, getting soaked in the rain and walking for so long?" I just gave a helpless, bitter smile at his questions. Seeing this, he said he would arrange surgery as soon as possible. Lying on the operating table, I thought about what the doctor said. Although he would prioritize replacing the steel plate inside, if the bone damage was severe, there was a risk of amputation. I still called Olivia. David's voice answered immediately, apologizing remorsefully. Olivia quickly snatched the phone. She snorted coldly. "Ethan, it's too late to know you. Wrong now. You caused David so much suffering. Unless you get over here immediately and kneel to apologize to him, I will never forgive you." The words I was about to say died in my throat. I looked at the doctor. "Please, start." Back at the apartment, the furniture was untouched. It seemed Olivia had been staying with David all these days. I opened David's social media. He had posted several new updates. The proud and beautiful Miller Corporation heiress, cooking for love, inspiring envy in many. I saved all the posts one by one, then turned off my phone. After packing a few things, I checked into a hotel. A hot bath slowly warmed my cold body. I took a few days off work. When my body felt mostly recovered, I went back to the office. My mother kept calling, asking if I had smoothed things over with Olivia. I told her I wouldn't be with Olivia anymore. She cried and wailed until I was so annoyed I stopped answering her calls. As soon as I got to the office, everyone looked at me awkwardly. My colleague Mark pulled me aside to my workstation. That's when I noticed the headlines online were exploding. He grabbed my hand, surprised and envious. I never thought I'd have a kept man working next to me. I always thought David was the one who'd be the Miller Corporation son-in-law, but it turns out it was you, Ethan. I gave an awkward smile and quickly scanned the posts. The wedding scene had been filmed and posted online by someone. They had written a ridiculously dramatic article about a wealthy family scandal. Olivia's bizarre behavior at the wedding had made her already damaged image plummet further, and even Miller Corporation was affected. If this had happened before, I would have been desperate to help Olivia resolve the scandal. But now that I had decided to divorce, I couldn't be bothered. It was time to leave work. Olivia was waiting at the company entrance, which was unusual. I turned to avoid her, but she caught up in a few steps and pulled me into her car. Why? Oh, you still mad? Can't you tell which is more important, a wedding or a person's life? You're a grown man, throwing a tantrum about divorce and running away from home, aren't you ashamed? All right, haven't you always wanted to go to the Starfall restaurant in the upscale district? I'll take you there now. Olivia finished speaking and pulled a gift box from the glove compartment, tossing it to me. Inside, something rolled out, a wristwatch. It looked significantly more expensive than the ring from the wedding day. Olivia looked at me with a "you should be satisfied now" expression. David's heart isn't well. Since that ring is already on his hand, he can keep it. This wristwatch is much more expensive than the wedding ring, so just drop it. I fiddled with the wristwatch. The price tag, $999,999, hadn't even been removed. She probably bought it from a store on the fly. Before, when I was unhappy, she would cook for me herself, patiently watch movies with me and comfort me, or play video games with me all day to help me relax. Now she had become like her family, putting a price tag on my sincerity and expecting me to accept it with gratitude. I put the wristwatch back in the glove compartment and shook my head. This is too expensive. You should keep it for David. And I'm not throwing a tantrum. Since you and David can't let go of each other, why don't I just give him the position of Miller family son-in-law? Let's find some time and get the divorce finalized. Olivia and I had gotten legally married before the wedding. Now, to separate, we needed divorce papers. I remembered hearing her and David, along with some friends, having dinner once. Someone asked him why a Miller Corporation heiress like her would like an ordinary guy like me. She had fed David a peeled grape and laughed casually. It's not really about liking him, but Ethan did stay with me for 8 years and injured his leg saving me. It would be pathetic not to marry him. It's just the title of Miller F.A. Millie's son-in-law, no big deal, I'll give it to him. Our marriage, to her, was an act of charity and pity. To me, it was full of love and sincerity. Now, I didn't love her anymore, and I didn't care about the Miller family son-in-law title. I thought she would be happy that I was proactively making way for her and David. To my surprise, her face turned crimson with anger, and she slammed her right hand on the steering wheel. Ethan, what's the point of saying all this? You've spent these years groveling to my parents like a dog, constantly faking a limp in front of me to remind me you saved my life. Wasn't all that just to become the Miller family son-in-law? Now you're talking about making way? How ridiculous can you be? So what if the wedding didn't go as planned? We can have another one. And who's to blame for this? I agreed to marry you. All I did was fulfill a promise to David. You're the one acting like a maniac, refusing to let it go. She always accused me of faking my leg pain to make her feel guilty. But back then, when she was drunk and surrounded by 7 or 8 thugs, I was the one who shielded her tightly, getting beaten bloody to keep her safe. She was the one who took me to the hospital, stayed with me through physical therapy, and cried while hugging me, saying she would only marry me in this life. She knew all of this. But after David came back, she regretted it and blamed everything on me. She pressed the horn, making it blare piercingly. If this had been before, I would have immediately apologized and explained myself. But now, I didn't want to argue at all. I turned my head to look at the scenery outside the car window. After a long time, apparently not getting the submissive plea she expected, she turned to look at me and called out, "Ethan." I closed my eyes and didn't respond. The navigation system periodically announced the route. When we were 0.2 kilometers away from the destination, her phone suddenly rang. David's voice came through, saying his heart was bothering him again, asking if he was going to die. Honestly, if he wasn't tired of saying it, I was tired of hearing it. Ever since he returned to the country, his heart would conveniently act up on every significant holiday. Anyone who wasn't blind could see he was faking it, but unfortunately, Olivia couldn't. I spoke first. You can just drop me off at the next intersection. Olivia looked at me, stunned. You're not angry? You're not going to demand to come with me? I shook my head. Before, I hated her being alone with David, so I would suggest I go with her to see him. Back then, she would yell at me, calling me disgusting and petty, telling me to learn to have clean thoughts like David. Her eyebrows furrowed, her phone still buzzing incessantly. The car quickly reached the intersection. I opened the door, ready to get out, but she grabbed my wrist, her eyes complex as she looked at me. I'll go see him. I'll come back later and take you to dinner. Don't worry, the position of Miller family son-in-law will definitely be yours. Don't be mad. Okay, I'm not mad, I said dismissively, trying to pull away. She tightened her grip. Ethan, you're different from before. Why aren't you? Not jealous? Why would I be jealous? David treats you like a sister. It's normal for him to come to you first when something's wrong. Go ahead. I smiled, gently pried her hand off, and got out of the car. Then I took a taxi back to the hotel, ate the hotel buffet, and collapsed into bed and slept soundly. Half asleep, Olivia called. She explained David couldn't be left alone right now and she couldn't take me to dinner, telling me not to wait for her. I just replied, I already ate. She immediately fell silent, then asked through gritted teeth, do you have to be this way? I said and hung up, going back to sleep. It wasn't until the next day that I saw the text she sent, warning me not to play with fire. When I went back to work, I understood what she meant. Several projects I was handling had been transferred to David. He was our new team leader, always smiling and asking me to do various odd jobs. Olivia came to eat lunch with him every day. Her eyes were icy whenever she saw me. The Miller Corporation scandal online was getting worse. She wanted me to go with her to the press conference on Monday that the Miller family was holding. She wanted me to help explain that David wasn't the other person at all. She claimed I had been the one who had the affair with her and interfered with her and David's relationship while David was abroad, and that I had used my injury to force Olivia to marry me. She made it sound good, saying I would still be the universally envied Miller family son-in-law, I just needed to bear a little bit of blame. This way, the Miller Corporation turmoil would subside, and David wouldn't be affected. She also said this was all caused by my impulsiveness at the wedding, and I should bear the consequences. Of course, I refused and blocked her immediately. Mr. and Mrs. Miller came to find me next, warning me to follow their plan and not think I could do whatever I wanted just because I saved Olivia's life. I gave them the same treatment I gave Olivia. I quit my job immediately. My skills weren't bad. Several companies had tried to recruit me before. But now, when I contacted them one by one, they were all evasive. I knew this was the Miller family's doing. They were forcing me to agree to the press conference. But this time, I wasn't going to compromise. After another failed job interview, a former client contacted me. They said their newly developed overseas project needed someone, the salary wouldn't be less than Miller Corporation, but the job was abroad. They asked if I was interested. Being an only child, I thought about my parents and only agreed to consider it for now. Back at the hotel, my mother called, saying her headache was acting up again. I immediately took a taxi home. When I pushed the door open, Olivia was there. My mother took the bag from my hand, looking perfectly fine. I looked at her darkly. I knew I had been sold out by my own parents again. At the dinner table, Olivia sat beside me, constantly putting food on my plate. The three of them acted like a happy family, as if they were the real family unit. My mother kept praising, Olivia is such a rare gem of a wife. Not only does she come from a good family, but she's also so thoughtful towards our Ethan. My father, despite being the elder, kept fawning over Olivia. They made small talk, saying I had been too impulsive at the wedding and thanking her for her tolerance towards me. Seeing them bowing and scraping like this, my resolve from the past few days crumbled instantly. My eyes turned red. I clutched the glass of juice my mother handed me, feeling pathetic. It's all right. After all, we'll be husband and wife in the future. Even if Ethan does something wrong, I'll try my best to be tolerant. It's just the press conference. Olivia's gaze was fixed on me, full of contempt and certainty. My hand tightened, juice spilled out, dripping onto the table and floor. Unable to bear it anymore, I looked at my parents. Am I really your son? Why is it that ever since I was a child, whenever there's a problem, you never firmly stand by me? I already told you, I won't be with Olivia anymore. Olivia's brows were tightly furrowed, likely unable to understand why I was so stubborn this time after compromising so many times before. My mother stopped wiping the table, and the rag, stained with juice, hit me on the head. The sticky, yellowish-orange juice, mixed with grayish dirt, ran down my face. She gave Olivia an apologetic smile. Olivia, it's my fault for not raising Ethan properly, wanting a divorce over such a small thing. Then she slapped me without hesitation, yelling, Ethan, do you think you're still some 20-year-old kid? You're 30. Olivia doesn't care that you're good for nothing. Doesn't care that you're throwing a fit, you should be grateful. How dare you even mention divorce? Do you have any manners? It was just that little thing at the wedding, how long are you going to make a fuss about it? If you don't think about yourself, you should at least think about your parents and family. My face was turned to the side, burning. Olivia seemed not to have expected my mother to hit me. She sprang up, reached out and supported me. My mother's next slap landed on her shoulder. She winced in pain but looked at me anxiously. Are you okay? I'll take you to the hospital. Then she turned back to my mother. Ma'am, Ethan married into the Miller family, he's one of us. Not to mention he saved my life. If this happens again, even if you are his mother, I won't hold back. My mother froze in place. I scoffed, my eyes filled with disgust, and glared at Olivia fiercely. Olivia, stop acting like the good guy now. Isn't this exactly what you wanted to see? My gaze made her flinch. She, who was always so high and mighty, actually looked lost and helpless. Ethan, you really want me to take the blame for David being the other person, huh? Fine. I'll go to the press conference. Don't you regret it? With that, I slammed the door shut and left. My steps quickened. I flagged down a taxi at random and left. In the rearview mirror, I saw Olivia standing by the neighborhood entrance for a long time. She kept calling me, but I didn't answer any calls. So she texted me, saying the press conference was an emergency measure. She said she knew I was wronged and would compensate me after things were over. See? She knew how unfair this was to me. But when it came to David, I was the one who had to be sacrificed. I immediately blocked her. Back at the hotel, I lay on the bed, my arm covering my eyes. My parents' calls were relentless. My mother asked if I was trying to kill her, saying her headache was back and if I didn't butter up Olivia, she would just let herself die from the pain. Then came the long tirade about raising me and how unfilial I was. I remembered the look on my parents' faces when they learned about Olivia's family background and how they changed. I still couldn't understand why children are born loving their parents, but some parents just can't love their children. I replied to her, your body is your own. If you really want to suffer yourself to death, I won't stop you. Then I stopped replying to my mother's messages. I called the client and told them I was willing to work abroad. The press conference was held on Wednesday. It was also the day of the Miller Corp's new product launch. Businessmen prioritize profit. Even at a time like this, they didn't forget to maximize the benefit from the attention. I appeared at the entrance in a black trench coat. The media reporters invited by Miller Corporation swarmed around. David and Olivia stood nearby. Seeing me struggling through the crowd, Olivia immediately rushed up and hooked her arm through mine. She had bodyguards shield us. I wanted to shake her off, but she held tighter. So many people, be careful not to hurt your leg. I couldn't open my eyes from the flashing lights, so I stopped resisting. The reporters inside the venue were much more orderly. David gave me a triumphant smile. I curled my lips indifferently. I hoped he'd still be smiling later. Mr. Ethan, did you immediately become the other person and do such despicable things after Mr. David went abroad? What were you thinking at the time? We heard that the reason you became Ms. Olivia's rescuer was that you deliberately arranged for people to ambush her on her usual route so you could play the hero. Where did you learn that trick? Two male reporters were the first to stand up, their questions sharp. Olivia's face next to me grew colder and colder. She snapped, "Who told you to ask those questions?" I glanced at her, thinking 4 words, putting on a show. As a company executive. Eve, she couldn't possibly not have anticipated what I would face coming to this press conference, right? I ignored her gaze, which seemed filled with bewilderment and regret, and addressed the 2 reporters. Since you are David's friends, I can completely understand the level of professionalism you're displaying. A flicker of guilt crossed their eyes. They mumbled, "Don't slander us." But under my confident gaze, they looked away and didn't say anything further. After all, if someone really dug, their identities wouldn't stay hidden. Especially not with so many cameras here today. Seeing Olivia lingering by my side, David swayed slightly. Olivia tensed, stood up, and went to support him. "Are you okay? Is your heart bothering you again?" As soon as she left, I was the only one left on stage. Sensing my gaze, she belatedly let go of David, but David grabbed her arm. "Olivia, I feel like I can't breathe." Olivia's expression was conflicted, but she ultimately chose to stay by his side. I calmly withdrew my gaze. The remaining questions were still unpleasant, filled with words like "the other person," "having an affair," and "kept man." When people seemed to have asked enough, I stood up, held the microphone, smiled, opened my briefcase, and with a flourish, scattered hundreds of photos towards the crowd. I spoke clearly, word by word. As for who the other person really is, I believe you can all judge for yourselves. A few photos landed near David. With just one glance, his charming, gentle facade instantly shattered. The photos showed David abroad, embracing women of different skin tones and appearances, frequenting bars. The stories about studying abroad and a long-distance relationship were all lies. The reason he had gone abroad back then was to run off with his first love. He craved excitement and disliked arranged marriages, so he abandoned Olivia. Later, after being betrayed and deceived, he regretted it and came back for Olivia, completely ruining my life. Why? And Olivia knew all of this. I had even found these photos on her computer. But she didn't care because in her heart, David was above everything else. She could even cover up the truth for him and drag me out to bear the blame. "Ethan, you." The crowds pointing and whispering fell upon them, just like at the wedding. David's face turned pale, and he clutched his chest, leaning on Olivia. Olivia looked at me in disbelief. I then magnified a screenshot of a chat log onto the screen behind me. It was a private message David had sent me the day before the wedding. He asked me to guess whether Olivia would choose him or me the next day. Back then, I hadn't understood what he meant. Not until Olivia abandoned me without hesitation. Scrolling further, I showed photos I had saved of David's social media posts after each time Olivia went to see him. They were taken from various angles, extremely ambiguous. I walked over and threw a cardiac examination report onto David's face. "Even your heart condition is fake. David, you're quite an actor." He immediately frowned, his expression panicked. "Ethan, I don't know what you're talking about. I know you've always been jealous of Olivia's concern for me, but you shouldn't forge things to frame me." What a drama king. I couldn't be bothered with the nonsense. I threw out a line, "Whether it's true or false, someone will naturally dig into it." After all, the journalists from major platforms present weren't easily fooled. His expression wavered, and he immediately covered his mouth and coughed. Surprisingly, Olivia didn't attend to him this time. Instead, she rushed to my side. Infidelity, affairs, twisting the truth. Her reputation was utterly destroyed this time. The new product launch was also a complete failure. Miller Corporation was bound to take a huge hit. I thought she was coming to settle scores. To my surprise, she was clutching 2 photos tightly in her hand. In the photos, she was wrapped in a bath towel, held in David's arms. Another photo showed them kissing with their eyes closed in a private room booth. Her eyelashes trembled as she grabbed my arm. Ethan, how did you get these photos? It's not what you think. I scoffed and pushed her hand away. Then what is it? Did someone hold your head and force you to kiss him? I had always assumed she could see David's social media posts. Now, it seemed she had no idea. No wonder she could speak so self-righteously before, saying it was just a small thing at the wedding. The scene devolved into chaos. I nodded, satisfied, then looked at Olivia with a cruel smile, deliberately raising my voice to draw everyone's attention to me. As for me, I changed the large screen display from the chat log to the divorce papers. Starting today, Ms. Olivia and I are no longer married. Olivia froze, staring blankly at the divorce papers on the big screen, unable to react in time. The reporters in the audience were clutching the photos I had just scattered, and now they were frantically taking pictures of the divorce papers on the screen. The focus of the interviews instantly shifted to Olivia and David. I pushed my way through the crowd and exited. As I walked out the door, I could still hear David's furious roars. Olivia was surrounded by the crowd, unable to break free to reach me. She cried out my name, begging me not to go, begging me to listen to her explanation. But I didn't look back. I had just hailed a taxi and was about to leave. Mr. and Mrs. Miller also arrived, asking angrily what I had done. I smiled brightly. Just a little gift from me to you. The press conference caused a huge uproar. My parents called constantly, asking if I was crazy for wanting to divorce Olivia. They demanded I cooperate with Miller Corp's emergency public relations. I treated it like nonsense. I had figured it out. For so many years, because I was an only child, I had given up too many opportunities just to stay by their side. I always thought there were no parents who didn't love their children. I thought they loved me in their hearts. But only now did I see clearly that in this world, there really are parents who don't love their children. They raised me, but they never gave me the selfless love and care that parents should. So from now on, I would only fulfill my financial support obligations, and then I would be free to go see the wind, the sea, the world. This public relations crisis was severe. Miller Corp's stock hit the limit down for several days in a row. I felt neither happy nor unhappy, just a sense of liberation. The date to go abroad was set for 2 weeks later. I signed up for an English conversation class. I thought in this situation, Olivia wouldn't have time to look for me. But only a week later, as I came out of the class, I saw Olivia waiting by the door. She looked thinner, and around her neck was the sapphire blue scarf I had knitted for her birthday last year. In previous years, I would save up half a year's salary to buy her clothes and bags. But later, I found that the gifts I considered very valuable were the cheapest things in her closet. So last year, I saved up 3 months' salary and, following a colleague's advice, spent nearly 3 months learning how to knit a scarf. I thought this way she would feel my sincerity more. But when I gave it to her, she still just glanced at it indifferently and put it in the corner of her closet. I wanted her to try it on, but she frowned at my hands, which were practically covered in pinpricks, and said, "You care about this so much, don't tell me you knitted it yourself? Ethan, you wouldn't do something so boring, would you?" I immediately hid my hands behind my back and said disappointedly, "Of course not." Seeing me looking at the scarf, she deliberately pulled it up, revealing the white crane embroidery with her name on it. "Ethan, doesn't it look good?" "I thought you'd thrown it away long ago," I replied indifferently, turning to walk towards the temporary hotel I was staying at. She followed me into the narrow hotel, hesitating. "You still have a leg injury, how can you stay here?" "If you don't have money, I can." I cut her off. "Have you forgotten? I ruined Miller Corp's new product launch, I ruined you, I ruined David." "Ethan, I've thought it through. It was my fault for not thinking clearly before." "This isn't your fault. As long as you come back with me and apologize to my parents, I promise, my husband will only be you." I almost laughed at how ridiculous she was. I had even printed out the divorce papers. How could she still think I wanted to marry her? "I think you've missed the point. The problem now is, I don't want you anymore. And there's no way I'm going back with you to apologize." She frowned, the corners of her eyes red, wanting to come over and hug me, but she was stopped by my cold gaze. Ethan, you never used to say such hurtful things to me. You must be angry with me, right? I can explain. As she spoke, she pulled out a stack of photos from her pocket, easily a dozen of them. I ignored her and went about boiling water for tea. She followed behind me. This photo of the kiss, David lost a dare. There were too many people around, I couldn't just let him be embarrassed in front of everyone. This one, it was raining too hard that day, my clothes got wet, and at the hotel, his heart suddenly felt uncomfortable, so I went to support him, and that's why we were hugging. And this one, until the water in the kettle went from boiling hot to cold, she still had more than half of the photos left in her hand. And as she spoke, her voice grew softer and softer, eventually tinged with a sob. I looked up at her. Do you want to keep going? She clutched the photos tightly and closed her eyes in pain. The arranged marriage between our families back then, I was actually the one who broke it off because I fell in love with you. So when he confessed to me, I reject him. Because of that, he left the country out of spite. Ethan, we owed him something before, but I promise, I'll definitely keep my distance from him from now on. You'll understand, right? Her words surprised me greatly. The first time I saw Olivia in college was at a performance. My parents believed in raising children frugally, so they cut off my living expenses in my freshman year. Even working every spare moment, I was often hungry, let alone affording a performance outfit that cost $300. And when I was at a loss, she handed me the outfit, saying I shouldn't let one person affect the whole class. It was then that I started paying attention to her. But she was always with David, so I chose to hide my feelings. I never expected that she liked me back then too. A different feeling immediately surged through me. I felt disgusted. 10. I curled my lips and looked at her. Do you think I'd be touched after hearing you say all this? Unfortunately, I just feel disgusted. This was all your choice. You could have compensated him in any way, but you chose to trample on me. Also, we have no relationship anymore, and I won't forgive you. I took the divorce certificate out of my bag. Her eyes widened in disbelief. No. Impossible. I haven't signed it yet. 3 days after the press conference, Olivia's parents came to find me, cursing me as an ill-mannered lowlife. Then they used their influence to end my marriage with her. She likely realized this too, and leaned against the doorframe, defeated. So, you're not coming back, right? That's right. I didn't tell anyone the day I left. But just as I was about to board the plane, I saw David rushing towards me. He yelled, "Die!" In his hand was a gleaming knife. He shouted that I had stolen Olivia from him and asked why she still wouldn't accept him even after he had broken us up. I couldn't dodge in time. In the nick of time, a familiar figure pushed me away. The knife plunged into Olivia's abdomen, blood instantly staining her sky-blue down jacket. David was restrained by airport security, and someone in the crowd called the police. I watched her fall in front of me, feeling only calm inside. The boarding announcement sounded. I held my ticket in my hand, but my other wrist was grabbed. Her face was pale as she pleaded, "Ethan, I really know I was wrong. Please, stay?" She pulled too hard, aggravating her wound, and the blood flowed faster. Although I no longer had feelings for her, I didn't want to be responsible for a death. So I took off the scarf from her neck, the one I had knitted myself, pressed it to her wound, and calmly dialed 911. Then, I pried her fingers away one by one. "Olivia, you're really annoying me like this." With that, I handed her over to the airport staff and left without looking back. 11. In my second year working abroad, I still sent money to my parents every month. They no longer cursed me as heartless for abandoning my elderly parents to go abroad alone. Instead, they often asked with anticipation and pleading if I would come home for the year-end holidays. Miller Corporation had gone bankrupt. It was said that David's attempt to take over failed. He not only widely publicized Miller Corp's scandals online but also sold the company's core secrets to their rival. In the end, Olivia dragged him from the Miller Corporation building and jumped, both perishing. I was admiring the magnificent Iguazu Falls with my colleagues while listening to my current boss, a beautiful woman, chattering on about the old days and the people from before. I felt nothing inside. As the domestic year-end holidays approached, I replied to my parents, "No," then a colleague beside me pulled me into a photo. Facing the camera, I smiled for the first time in a long time. I knew my new life had just begun.